another meaningful event that happened when I was in Africa on a missions trip last year with Kashaba Tribe, which I highly recommend going with them. It was the best team I've ever been part of, because there was so much unity in the team. And anyway, so one of the other things, and also the people that go on those trips are so well trained in healing and deliverance, especially. So we just saw tons of healing, tons of deliverance, and it was amazing. Anyway, so one of the other things that happened was every night these churches were asking us to come and have revival services, which basically was just a normal service where we just shared stuff and prayed for people. But anyway, so we would split up into groups and go to 3 or 4 churches every night. And one of the churches that we went to, there was a guy from Rwanda on our team named Pacific, and he, on the way there, he was talking about the message that he was planning to give. And then when he stood up to give the message, it was totally different than the message that he was planning. And I love how sensitive he is to the Holy Spirit. So after he gave this message, and it was about Elijah. Is it Elijah or Elisha? I get the two mixed up. The prophet, I think it was Elijah, the prophet that after, the situation with the prophets of Baal and building the 2 altars, and the prophets of Baal like trying to get their God to respond and burn up the altar, and then Elijah was like, my God is so big, I'm gonna pour a ton of water on the sacrifice even, and then God still like came and burned up the whole thing. And then so after this big, and then Elijah kills all the prophets of Baal. And after this big event, Elijah runs for his life from, I think it was Jezebel and her husband, who was trying to kill him. And he goes, and then he's so depressed that he wants to die after this big event with God on the mountain. Anyway, so right after this message, where basically Pacific was saying how we can have these big mountain high experiences with God, and then on the flip side, be really depressed and want to kill ourselves. And the pastor of this congregation came up and he was like, that is the situation I'm in. And I haven't shared it with anyone. Not even my kids know about this. Only my wife knows. Nobody else knows. And he shared it with the whole congregation, how for the past year or 2, he had been suicidal and he tried to take his life a couple of times. And this was after seeing mighty mountaintop experiences, like huge works of God happen through him and in him. And so we prayed over this pastor. So it was really cool that Pacific just heard the Holy Spirit and went with it to give that message. And then that the pastor had the courage to share that in front of his whole congregation. And then we prayed over him, and he was set free from the spirit of death. And like even there, we could see his countenance change and all that. And then several days later, we saw him again, and same, like it was still that way, where his countenance was just shifted. And he said that there was so much, like the heaviness was gone, the suicidal thoughts were gone, the depression was gone. And it was just really amazing. Like, yeah, God's just so good. And it's interesting how we can have these things oppressing us and not even know it. And we can think it's just us when it's not. It's actually a spirit that needs to be cast out and removed. So anyway, hope that blesses you. Yes. I would love to hear your comments if you've experienced anything like that before. And I've actually experienced things like that before, which I think I've shared, or I'll share again at some point, I'm sure. But would love to hear your thoughts. Please like and subscribe and join me for this journey.